Hello, this is Reno, Dino, Valentino, and the great Cecilia Rose from Comic Dissection. And we are here with the most special of specialist announcements. We are actually going to be at our very first con ever.
Yay!
As people with a table. I mean, both have been to cons before.
Yes.
I was afraid we were going to lose some nerd cred there. But
no, Animazement was amazing.
Yes, this is our first... This is better to say this is the first con for the podcast.
Yes.
June 2nd through 4th, Con Carolinas, which is the longest running sci-fi and fantasy con, will be at the Hilton at Charlotte University Place. And on Saturday, yours truly, and Cecilia truly, will be there. So, if you are fans of the podcast,
or if you're just going to be at the convention anyways.
Yes. Although if you're not fans, I have no idea how you're hearing this blurb. But
Hey.
However you've
Come get a sticker, man.
However you've come across it, we'll be handing out stickers and business cards, and we're going to have a drawing for some graphic novels. Some we've done on the show, some we will do on the show, some we haven't, and may never do on the show. But, hey, if there's one thing I hope you've learned with Comic Dissection, is that every comic's worth a read at least once. And we'll give you a whole stack of them just for showing up. We're going to have a drawing at the end of the day. And if you want to win, you got to play. Or at least show up at our table. So yeah, June 3rd. Come on by. Say hi. Don't leave us hanging. This is kind of our first date. Fucking show up, alright? And obviously, if you have children, they're also welcome if they can tolerate cursing, pro-LGBT messages, violence, anti-cop propaganda, and the like.
All the things that being a leftist entails.
Yeah.
You know?
If you're a leftist and you don't find curse words offensive, yeah, bring the kids along. It's good family fun. Otherwise, please don't add us.
Yeah. You're responsible for your children.
Yes. I can barely take care of myself. I certainly can't take care of your kids.
Not the babysitting table.
No. Also, if you bring... I have no idea if you can have pets here, but if you bring a rabbit to this con, bring it by the table. I want to pet a rabbit. I don't know. It's just a thing I've been thinking about lately. All right.
That was so random.
It is, but I would love to pet a rabbit at the con and maybe get a picture with it. And like a little... I'd call him
You're
Peter.
going to have some weird furry cosplayer come up to you and...
Fine. Absolute furries, welcome. All welcome. Comic Dissection table. Look for us at Con Carolina. It's June 3rd.
Come say hi.
We will have links to the Con Carolina, where it's happening, how you get your tickets, etc., etc., in the comments, not the comments, in the show notes. So please, come out and say hi, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, and welcome to Comic Dissection, the comic book club where we examine comics through an intersectional leftist lens.
we got a tagline now.
That's our first time trying that out. It felt nasty. I'm sure it'll get better with time. I'm Reno Dino Valentino, your lovely host, and this is my, what's the word? Co-host.
There you go.
Cecilia Rose, and we are here this lovely morning, too early morning, to...
It's 10:30.
Yeah, I said what I said.
Wow. You really did make the right decision not having kids.
Oh, not just not having kids, but also working a job that's night shift. Like, I'm looking out for number one here. That's never been my issue.
I've only been up for 7 hours, so
Yes.
it's all good.
And we are discussing my pick today, which is the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Volume 1. Now, this is the and get the publishing date right so I do not screw this up, is the 2012 reboot. Because about every 4 to 8 years, He-Man gets himself a reboot, which for He-Man fans is very nice. They retool the lore a little bit and make it more palatable for, whatever people are getting into the age of buying comics at that time.
Yay.
Yes. So, Cecilia, before we start, tell me your history, if any, with He-Man. I know I made you watch the Netflix cartoon, but
you did make me watch the Netflix
and it was
cartoon.
good.
And it was good. Mm-hmm. Hey, I was not about to complain. Mm-hmm. No, actually, I was just gonna say that if I had to pick my pick of buff men with swords that give them superpowers,
yeah,
I typically go with Thundercats instead of He-Man.
The competition. Ooh.
That parallel came up in my head a lot reading this. Was like,
oh yeah,
this and Thundercats, like the only difference is how much of a furry you are.
It's really true. It's like, are you more of the Conan the Barbarian style?
I'm not.
Or are you more of the I'm gonna wear cat ears while I stream style?
I am definitely more of the cat ears. Here's the thing: I didn't hate it.
Yeah, which is good.
He-Man is not something. It was not something I would pick up.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Well,
I did love Thundercats though.
Thundercats was good. Here's the thing: I didn't hate Thundercats, but it came after He-Man. Not only on television, like
just in general,
it was a 3 versus the 3:30 slot, but He-Man also came first. And to that exact note, riddle me this, Cecilia.
Oh, goody.
What does He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and Ronald Reagan have in common?
An abundance of white men?
No. Deregulation. The reason that the He-Man comic even exists is that when Ronald Reagan got in office in 1981, he lifted the regulations that said you could advertise to children.
Okay.
That's why in the 80s, you had so many cartoons that were basically 30-minute toy advertisements.
Okay.
He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers. All the things I loved. I mean, they were catered right to me. You had a marketing department that was like, boys like explosions. And they like having the power because in real life they don't. Like, their parents and teachers are always telling them what to do. So imagine a sword you could lift up and say, I have the power, and all of a sudden, you're in charge. You make the rules. It was catering to...
Yeah, it's a power fantasy. It's a power fantasy.
And when She-Ra came along right behind it, it was like, wait, girls kind of want power too? This is great. Let's cater to this. We can take little girls' monies too. And that is why capitalism is the great equalizer.
Well, the fact that it's taken until 2023, really, for this same industry to realize that women also like video games and shit...
And comics. Mm-hmm.
And comics. I mean, yes, video games is more of a more recent kind of acquisition for people to realize that,
that's
women
true.
like this too.
Yeah. Although the comic revolution, I mean, if you just look at the first Iron Man movie that basically kickstarted the Marvel Cinematic Universe to, the She-Hulk TV show and the last Black Panther movie that just came out. So I'm getting behind. I watched She-Hulk. It was great, but I haven't watched the new Black Panther yet. Point being, like, even in that short time, they've learned a lot about inclusivity and such. And I would say even back in 2012, one of the things I really like about this comic is that at least one of the women does not take a back seat to nobody. Like Teela in this is
Teela
like
was the saving grace.
Every bit as badass as He-Man, like, and without god powers, so even more impressive.
Yeah,
and the sorceress, like, even though she is the typical prisoner of war,
she is
female
the damsel in distress.
She is the damsel in distress, but she's also badass. She's
powerful.
Yeah, she is also a very neat badass. But yes, in 1981, Reagan lifted all these things. It took 2 years for Mattel to get their act together and make toy line for that and a TV show.
This also explains all of the Barbie shit that existed in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I never thought of until recently was how children's breakfast cereals exploded in the 80s. Everyone got a cartoon mascot. Everyone got a cartoon TV commercial. Like, no one was talking about Cookie Crisp, Honey Smacks, Frosted Flakes. Like, none of that. Like, that stuff, it became, like, the breakfast of champions in the 80s.
Yeah, once again, we can trace the downfall of society back to Reagan. This is good. I love consistency.
At least the downfall of dental health.
I love consistency.
Yeah.
It's nice when things line up and you can see a through line.
Yeah, so, in I think it was September of 83, the He-Man cartoon premiered, and we were off to the races. A lot of influence from Frank Frazetta, who is the world-famous Conan artist. If you look at the cover of Volume 1, it's a very similar art style.
Yeah, the immediate relief I felt when I opened it up and the inside did
was
not
not
look
that.
like the outside. Yeah, because this would have gotten on my fucking nerves.
Here's the thing. People, Frank Frazetta, they love him or they hate him. There is no middle ground.
Okay, well, I know which camp I'm in.
I'm not a fan either, but there are those that are, and God bless their souls.
I mean, this cover is basically Fabio for straight boys who are hiding their homosexuality.
Oh, it absolutely is. Also for straight boys who aren't straight and aren't hiding their.
I mean that's one thing. But
it's eye candy for both camps of men that like men and men that pretend they don't like men, but also
I'm just saying,
like
yes, that's what I'm saying though. Like, this is not a thing that a stereotypically gay person would probably pick up.
I mean, I mean, there is a type.
There is a type.
There's a type that this is right in their
It is
right
very
in their
Fabio
wheelhouse.
oil painting.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is the cover of, if you replace Skeletor with like a woman in distress, this is the cover of every romance novel
ever
from the 80s to at least the early 2000s. When Fabio stopped working, finally, when the airbrush couldn't clean him up enough for him to be on the cover of a pirate on the deck of a pirate ship holding a woman.
Jesus.
But that is neither here nor there. We are going to dive right in. So before the comic gets started, there's this little kind of a 5-page one-shot with a character who was created by Geoff Jones, one of the 5 people who worked on this.
Okay.
A lot of continuity you have to do, I guess. That's why you need 5 people on it. And when he was a kid, he made a He-Man character named Sir Laserlot. And he put him in this comic.
Sir Laser. You know what? Good for him.
Yeah. I mean, that's realizing your fucking
bully
dream.
on him for actually, like, getting to be exactly where he wanted to be in life. I love that.
Imagine you created a Sailor Moon
God.
character when you were 8. And then, in your 40s, they're like, hey, could you write a couple issues of Sailor Moon? Tell me that girl wouldn't at least be standing in the background.
Oh, she fucking would. And I made those characters, too.
Of course we all did. I did Mega Man bosses from the Nintendo game. Like, we all did this.
I would have, like, a little villain then decide.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
So Sir Laserlot, kind of, once I found out his history, they even made an action figure of him.
Aww.
Yeah, he's even got a toy out there.
Okay, I love this for this guy.
I know, like, this guy lived the dream.
I was making fun of it in my head when I was reading it. But I am going to take all of that back.
If I could give one piece of advice to anyone reading He-Man comics, ignore the names of everyone. Or embrace them, because it's very funny for these extremely serious situations, these life and death battles between someone named Merman and someone named Man-at-Arms.
Look, the first thing I noticed was that this place is called Eternia.
Yeah.
And
shit lasts forever.
Yeah, I was just, it's campy. It's campy. You got to go in with the expectation of it being a little campy.
Interestingly enough, in DC comic continuity, at least circa 2012, Eternia is a planet in the center of the entire known universe, and it is the font of all magical power.
Okay.
The reason Constantine can do magic, the reason fucking, like, Zatanna can mind wipe people in Identity Crisis, all of that.
My second note literally says, Sir Laserlot, really, I'm knocking off 20 points for that.
And now you have to...
And now you're eating my words.
Return them +1. 21 points for Gryffindor.
It makes more sense that an 8-year-old made it up, actually.
Yes.
Like, that
well, all these
makes
names,
sense.
if they weren't made by 8-year-olds, they were made to cater to 8-year-olds. So, it's kind of funny because
Is that also why Transformers names are so interesting?
Yeah, and G.I. Joe. G.I. Joes have names, like, there's literally a G.I. Joe named Skidmark. Yeah, true story.
You're making me read one of those, aren't you?
Not with Skidmark, I promise.
Okay.
But that's further down the road. For now, we open on Eternia. It's night, and these two kids are running from the Savage Beastmen, which anyone who reads the comic knows that Beastman is one of Skeletor's, like, loyal henchmen. And you're like, oh, wow, there used to be, like, a whole race of these psychopaths, and they're going to eat these kids. I love the art here. Like, this is cool, because on
Just
page
jumping out.
2, there's a full-page panel of, like, Beastmen just hopping on these children, and I love it.
It is good.
I'll be honest, I probably shouldn't, but I do. It's also interesting, on page 3, they mention scare glows, because they're talking about legends. We won't make it to the river, not with what's in it. Scare glows are only a story. So were the Beastmen. So, scare glows, if you remember from the cartoon, he was that dude from the underworld who, like, killed Orko.
Okay.
Or who Orko stuck around to fight him.
Okay.
In the underworld. He was, like, head of the underworld. In this universe, apparently they're kind of like a will-o'-the-wisp. Just, like, glowing light that leads you to bad stuff. But I like these kids. They got some moxie.
They do.
They turn around. They're like, yeah, we're going to fight. And this dude shows up who we do not yet know is her laser slot. But he uses his weird chest beam, which is actually the heart of a dragon, to make a mace head for his staff. Mm-hmm. And beats the ever-living fuck out of these beastmen.
He sure does.
Yeah. I like the fights in this. Like, they're very... that my 8-year-old heart sings.
Aww.
And something else I really like about this is when these authors started this story, they had a big plan.
Okay.
Like, you've seen the omnibus. Mm-hmm. There's tons of drops here that will mean stuff later.
Okay.
Like, a lot of this, you're like, oh, wait, what? What's that weird skull? Like, what's this? What's that?
Yeah.
Long story short, the kids are like, we have nowhere to go. Everything was lost during the war. And you'll find out that this was a war between the blue-skinned people called the Gar, of which Skeletor is one, which is why his skin's blue, and everyone else. Like, the Gars betrayed them and became this reviled race. Like, everyone hates the Gar because they killed King Greyskull, the first ever ruler of Eternia, who united all the clans, basically. This is during that time, during that war.
Okay.
So these kids are orphans. Now, some of this you will find out later if we ever get there. But these kids are orphans. Sir Laserlot's like, hey, I can take you back to my place, give you, a place to stay for the night at least. Mm-hmm. And the kids start, just as kids do, start fucking around with stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's got this weird skull just sitting off in a corner by itself. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, this purple, like, warp opens over the skull, and someone's saying, I see the skull. Hurry before Agent Spectator senses this disruption in time. Bring the skull to me, and Eternia shall be remade. And this guy's like, well, you can't take that skull. He grabs it. They're all teleported away. And sure enough, he's in front of Skeletor and his evil minions. And that's all you get. It's like a little 6-page teaser trailer.
Yeah.
And then, in episode 1... you are kind of confused, especially if you know the mythos, because...
I was confused because it jumped from weird villain layer to Adam...
yeah, having this dream where he's He-Man and he's fighting villains. And then he wakes up and he's just a lumberjack in the woods. He's just a lonely, sad lumberjack. And his father... was a lumberjack before him, but is under the delusion now in his old age that he's a king. Which, again, if you've read the comics, you're like, he is the king. That's Prince Adam. What are they doing lumberjacking out here?
Yeah, when my note says, so what's the deal with the skull? The smash cut to Woodsman Adam was weird.
Yeah. And I like, there's a shot where you can see Snake Mountain in the background.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm Adam, a woodsman, and that is all simple, without the power, or indeed the valor, to change this horrible world. And then you see
hashtag relatable.
Yeah, right. Then you see Eagle sailing in that you will later find out is Zorar. Also a character that you might recognize from the cartoons. The sorceress is kind of Avatar that she sends out from Castle Greyskull into the world. Not to mention that eagles and birds of all feather who flock together are often portents of things to come in like mythologies and fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
Like you see an owl, wisdom is on the way. You see a raven or blackbird, like maybe bad luck.
I've always really liked ravens and blackbirds.
Well, in some cultures, they're lucky.
Yeah.
Although I don't remember which ones, because I always get ravens, blackbirds, and crows confused. But, and
I like all of them. So
it would kind of be like if black cats were unlucky, but black cats with green eyes were lucky, and then you had, like, every time you saw a black cat, you had to, like, try and figure out if it's one of the good ones or the bad ones. One of those birds is great. Maybe it's a magpie. I have no idea. One of them birds is fine. But he's taking care of its dad, which is wonderful. And what a guy. And he's talking to this, he's becoming friends with this bird. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of like, I feel like I know you. I even know your name, Zoar. And then he's like, wait, how the hell do I know this bird's name? I shouldn't know bird names. And he keeps having the dream.
Yep.
The dream where he is something more than a woodsman. And finally he wakes up and he's like, I gotta get the hell out of here.
Yep,
I gotta figure out what these dreams are about. This is I like this because it is the fantasy journey. It is very much the typical prophetic dreams as a call to adventure. You know,
I wrote, don't go traveling in the woods, Red Riding Hood.
Don't go chasing waterfalls, Adam.
Don't go traveling in the woods, Red White. It doesn't end well.
No, and this issue also doesn't. Get a fucking amazing shot of Beastman. In fact, this is my favorite panel from from this volume. Like, I love, like, just the reveal. Like, he is so imposing. Like, his shoulders are huge. But the best part, the piece de la resistance, is the claw. He's clawing into the bark of a tree next to him. Very much revealing his bestial nature. And, and also, the Beastman, when I was a kid, the Beastman toy had that same, like, blue gem on his chest.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I always wondered, I was like, oh, does that give him the power to control beast? Is that what turned him into a beast? Like, I created my own lore around that blue star for the toy.
Right.
And so it was cool to see it in such epic relief there. And at no point, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, is that thing ever explained? Like, why he wears it, where it comes from. It just
looks real cool.
It looks cool. It's just, I honest to God think he was just like...
He's got an aesthetic, and he saw it, and he went for it.
Yeah, he's like, it will bring out the blue in my eyes. And so Beastman decides he's going to murder Prince Adam.
As one does.
Before he ever leaves the forest. Because
I just love Beastman over here giving away the game.
Yeah. All of them do.
They do, though.
But I like it because there's kind of an excuse for it. Because later, when Skeletor is arguing with his skull that gave him the power to do all this, which I think is just funny, like getting in an argument with your little your amulet of power. Like, you shut up, amulet of power.
Don't talk to me like that.
But while he's arguing with him, it basically says, you took away the hero's memories, but not your people's memories. And they remember getting defeated over and over again. These patterns, they get stuck. They get repetitive. They just keep happening. And so he kind of blames Skeletor. Like, they lose because they always lost.
I was gonna say that I didn't understand if the skull granted them this, like, little fight thing.
You only get this very little hint of it. Where he says, like, oh, I'm taking the skull and Eternia shall be remade.
Yeah.
Like, so that's how you know that the skull is what let Skeletor do, like, confuse everyone and make everyone live in this new altered reality. Very Doctor Who-ian.
It is. It's one of those things with, like, the monkey paw, like, you make a wish and you get, like, 9/10 of the way there, but that last 1/10 really fucks you over in the end.
Although a lot of this Skeletor does to himself. Like, there's so many little things that he's like, oh, I like the idea of you know, the sword being here and being guarded by his tiger. I like the idea of Adam still being alive, but being a woodcut. Like, if Skeletor was smart, he would have just, like,
look, I make
cast
a note,
a spell of brain melting on
of
Prince
some
Adam.
of this in here as we go through.
Yeah.
Where in which, if Skeletor would just,
Yeah, murder.
Yeah.
But ironically, the little head tells him the same thing, and Skeletor has his reasons, but they're all based on arrogance and
it's always the arrogance
and the repetition of patterns.
Every villain, and it's always the arrogance that gets them.
Yeah, well, of course.
Well, and some of the heroes too.
Yeah, well, it's a vice. It's one of the 7 deadly sins. It's pride, and so your villains have to exhibit pride, gluttony, like they have to personify these weaknesses, especially when they're so powerful. A lot of times it's just lazy writing. Like, I don't know how you're going to beat this guy unless he does something stupid, from pride. So let's have him do that.
Or, we have our nice exposition dump where you get the whole villain's plan.
Yes.
Actually, side note, because it's unrelated to this, but when I was reading the Scum Villain Self-Saving System, that's one of the things because the dude who gets transmigrated into this world, he read the comic. It was like one of those online like manga thingies, and he read it, and he got annoyed because that shit happened so much. Yeah. And like this comic was one of those things where you can leave like comments to the creator or whatever, and so like he had made a point of like just dressing him down for like, this is so stupid. What do they have negative IQ points? Why are the villains this idiotic?
Why would the villain do this?
But he gets stuck in that world, and it happens to him. He gets caught in a villain who's like one of those like explaining the whole tragic backstory to him, and it is lazy writing to a certain extent, but it was one of the funniest scenes, and well, the whole book was fucking hilarious, but it was one of the funniest scenes in the early on part of it, because he's like, why would you do this? Why would you stop? You could just kill me now.
It's like, no. You have to understand me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I need to make sure you need to justifiably know why I'm about to murder you, otherwise what's the point of this?
And we'll give this one credit, because it does at least try. Like, Skeletor tries to explain himself. The problems are brought up, and Skeletor is forced to address them head on. I believe his ultimate answer is to toss the skull out the window. But, at first, he tries to defend his choices. So the Beastman's and Adam's doing surprisingly well, and he can't figure out why. He's like, I'm a woodsman. How am I fighting okay and not getting murdered?
This part annoyed me.
Oh, where he stabs him with the stick?
Well, it's just, he throws away his axe to stab him with a stick.
Yeah.
And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But out of the two things, the thing with the blade might be a better weapon, you idiot man.
I am guessing, and this is possibly just me giving excuses, but it's the old misdirection. Like, Beastman's watching the axe, and like, you see a bunch of him trying to chop Beastman up with the axe and failing. Like, Beastman is dodging. Like, he gets, like, one glancing blow in. And he's like, alright, Beastman's watching the axe. I throw the axe. While he's watching the axe, I grab something else, misdirect, and then get him right in the shoulder. Which he does, and then punches the crap out of him and knocks him out. Which he should not be able to do. He's just a simple woodsman. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. Yes. And then Zoar's like, yeah, where are you leading me? Prince Adam says to Zoar, where are you leading me, bird? And wanders out into the desert. He's out of the forest and into the desert.
Yep.
And then we cut to Skeletor, who is very, very upset with Beastman. Said, Adam must be stopped, and quickly. The further he goes, the more he may find out. Spread the word. Tell them Adam must be stopped. Alive or dead, it is of no matter. Tell them. Tell who, my lord? Skeletor's like, everyone.
Why are the villains always so surprised when the superheroes are OP? Like, this is not a shock.
Yeah.
This is not your first fight.
Come on. Yeah, you fought him before. You know this guy.
Yeah, you would imagine this wouldn't be the first time.
No. Be better. Alright, so, issue 2 opens on Castle Greyskull, which is the most important location to the entire mythos of He-Man. So, the reveal of Castle Greyskull, especially this version, where it's now surrounded by swamp and monsters everywhere, and it looks more like Skeletor's face than it ever did. We're like, oh, yeah, something's going on here. Something bad is happening. Yeah, I really like this. So Skeletor's dressing down Beastman for his failure, and I like it because he's eating a pomegranate, and the pain, like, from the eating of the pomegranate is being passed on to Beastman. Like, every time he bites it, Beastman's, like, receiving pain. To the point where Skeletor throws the fruit to the ground, and Beastman is, like, also thrown to the ground.
Okay.
I thought that was just a neat little show of power and punishment. It shows decadence. It also shows, like, how cruel Skeletor is, which you will get more of later. But I just love that. He just, like, throws it down and Beastman's just thrown to the earth like the pomegranate.
See, I thought he was, like, force choking him or something.
No, it's more like a voodoo doll where the pomegranate, it represents Beastman. And so when he bites into it, like, Beastman feels it. And that's got to be the only reason he's doing it, because Skeletor, you got no taste buds. Your head's a skull, man. Like, you can't be tasting that pomegranate. You're just kind of being a jerk.
Is this the part where they talk about how Skeletor is related to Adam?
It might be.
Because I wrote down family reunions.
Yes. Should my wretched nephew violate the boundaries I set for him, kill him.
Family reunions must be very awkward.
Were my instructions not clear? Yeah, the whole familial lineage. Like, you can't have a villain who's not related to you for some reason.
You know, we got all that history of, like, kings and, you know, chosen children and all that stuff. So I guess we're really leaning heavy on that.
Oh, yeah, and you'll certainly, like, past Volume 1, it gets more and more into it. You get the entire history of Keldor, who becomes Skeletor. I'll give you the short version, though. He's an adopted son.
Okay.
He's the older son. Uh-huh. But Randor got the throne because he's a Gar, and people don't trust Gar. And he...
So racism is to blame.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he takes that a little personally.
You know,
especially
fair. Because
Randor is a total dick about it. He's like, come on, you'll be my advisor behind the throne. I can't do it without you, little guy. Like, it's... And Keldor's like, I'm going to find a bunch of magic power and fucking destroy you. Skeletor is a very not in Volume 1, but as it goes on, he becomes a very sympathetic character. Like, I really, the Skeletor mythos is very well done. It's incredible. I really like it. But so Skeletor turns one of his servants into stone because they bump into him.
Poor woman didn't do nothing.
No, it's just showing that he's becoming unraveled. We cut to Adam wandering through the desert.
I wrote here, Adam is such a teen girl. He had a dream and he's got to follow it to the end.
I want to be a pop star. Like, I want
to be a YouTube sensation.
I want to be a YouTuber. I want to fall in love with a sexy man and live a happy life. And I like that he's talking to the bird just nonstop because there's no one else there. And then this really cool creature rides up. Mm-hmm. And these desert...
I want one as a pet.
They're so cute. It's like a lizard with bucket seats put on its back.
It's a lizard camel combo.
Yeah. And I will tell you something interesting to me, maybe not to you. There was a He-Man toy called Dragon Bones. And it had a handle, and it was basically the skeleton of this creature. Yeah. But it had little things on the side, and you could put your figures in, and it was like a carrying case. Aww. And its mouth would open, and you could put in all their swords and accessories, so you could carry them to a place and play with them.
It was a little purse.
Yeah, it was a little man bone purse.
Aww.
And I think, and I don't have any proof of this, but I think this is that creature while it still had skin. Like, I think this is the Dragon Bone carrying case that Trapjaw's minions are on.
I was going to say the dudes on the... I called it a giant worm.
That's
but the
fair.
dudes on the giant
worm, lizard, dragon thing.
Were very efficient.
Oh.
They had one job and they fucking did it.
Yeah. And let me just ask. Once again, I feel like we had a real good opportunity to just murder this guy. But they were given orders, if you find Adam, alive and unharmed. Alive and unharmed. Over and over.
I actually felt really bad for Skeletor during some parts of this.
Because of his minions?
Yes! You had one fucking job! Come on, man!
Yes.
I don't, here's the thing. I wasn't super attached to Adam. For the most part, he kind of annoys me.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, I don't have any stakes. Like, I don't care if he gets harmed. Plus, he's an overpowered main character, and those don't tend to get harmed.
Yeah.
So, like, I spent most of this being indifferent to Adam and feeling Skeletor's pain.
Yeah. Yeah. Understood. It's easy to do because, man, in the cartoon, half of every cartoon from the 80s was Skeletor talking about how he was surrounded by idiots. And,
you know,
this does not disprove that.
That is carried through here.
They're much more capable than they were in the cartoon. I mean, they were clowns in the cartoon. But here, they've all got their weird, like, sense of honor and their weird...
grudges.
Much like, and their grudges. Like, much like Skeletor, they all have their hang-ups. And Trapjaw's makes a lot of sense because apparently the reason Trapjaw's lower jaw is not his normal skin is because He-Man, like, chopped his bottom half of his mouth off. Yeah, I would hold a grudge. I get that.
I did write expositional, because he gets taken back to the camp.
Yes.
And Trapjaw, exposition is very expositional.
Yes.
And the backstory and the childish taunting.
Oh,
and all
he's loving it. Like, he's on his throne, he's got a girl around his leg, and he's just like, you suck, and I'm cool. Yeah. Look at me.
Yeah.
And it also, it shows that kind of, it's good to work for Skeletor. Like, all of Skeletor's men kind of got their own kingdoms. Like, Beastman got the forest, of course, and Trapjaw got the desert. Later you'll find out Merman got the oceans. Like, everyone got their own, like, all got divvied up for them. Evil Lynn got a little island paradise for herself.
And then the most frustrating, why wait until tomorrow to murder him? I do, like... What is this? Like, you got a 24-hour
Desert honor, man. Petition for your life.
I'm about to say, you got a 24-hour parlay. I'm ready tomorrow morning. Yes. We'll talk about it before. So many of the villains' problems we solved if they weren't into theatrics.
Theatrics and procrastinating. They love procrastinating. They're so busy. They're like, I want to procrastinate.
You got one job, man. One job.
Yes. I like that his guards have their lower face covered with metal because I feel like it would help keep the sand off, and it also is kind of like paying homage to their master. It's kind of like
neat, yeah.
like a Trapjaw homage. Like, yeah, boss, I represent. I know. Yeah,
I got your back, man. I feel you.
But we meet Trapjaw, who was my favorite toy as a kid because he had different like weapon accessories he could put on his arm, like lasers and claws and hooks, and his jaw would actually move up and down. He was awesome. And we meet Teela, who is a total badass, who shows up and's like, hey, why do I know you, weird dude they just captured? He's like, why do I know you, weird girl at my cage? Nothing's really answered here, except that everyone's memories seem to be churning around Adam. Like, Adam is a catalyst for people. When they see him, it starts to awaken memories of the life they lived before Skeletor changed things.
Adam is definitely like a looking on the bright side kind of guy too.
He is very Superman in that he's painfully optimistic.
Yeah.
Like, and that's something carried over from the 80s cartoon where at the end of every 30-minute episode he would come on and tell you about how stealing's wrong and how stranger danger is real. Like, he was a very upbeat, happy little guy.
Yeah.
So, the next morning, we get to find out about Trapjaw's game. And he's saying, here's how it works. You choose a person and you petition for your freedom. Should that person deny you, you fight them to the death. Should you survive, you petition again. So basically, you've got to ask every single person in the camp if they will free you. They will all say no because they work for me. You will then fight them to the death.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is survive the entire army and then me, and then you can go free because I'm a man of honor. I also like very much how his memories come and go unbidden. Like right at the beginning, Trapjaw throws an axe at him because Adam's like, I don't want to play your game, and Trapjaw's like, fine, I'll just bad you now. Throws an axe at it. Adam ducks. It goes into a dude's head, and he comes and runs for it. And instead of grabbing the axe, he grabs the sword. And he's like, why? I am a woodsman. Why did I grab the sword? I am better with an axe, obviously. But he's not. He's a badass with the sword. And he starts fighting until Trapjaw, he's fighting on top of a building, which Trapjaw basically just picks up and throws with one arm because he's a beast. And then you see this little, like, nanobite dragon go down into his hand and turn it into, like, an axe. And that feels like Sir Laserlot's trick. And I wonder if... Because last we saw of him, he was in the castle, surrounded by all these guys. I wonder if Trapjaw got, like, that boon. Like, he got Laserlot's, like, weird laser weapon. Because otherwise, I have no idea where this thing comes from. It, like, this little bug crawls down his arm, and then it becomes a laser axe, which he starts fighting... Fighting Prince Adam with. And ends up... All of a sudden, he loses his sword training. Like, the memory is gone.
Yeah.
Like, it comes and goes. And Trapjaw's getting ready to, like, ice him. And here's another, what you were talking about, where the villains make mistakes that make you want to scream. He's like, all of a sudden there's a loud rumbling behind him. And he turns back and he's like, no, not when I'm so close. And I feel like in the time that he said that, he could have just chopped Adam. Like, instead of lamenting how he didn't get to kill Adam, he could have killed Adam. But Adam is saved by an incoming Tila, who has released all the Bone Dragon carrying cases, and they have just fucking decimated the entire camp. And Adam gets picked up and rescued. And they start exchanging some barbs, and you're like, this is a familiarity that these two have with each other.
I kind of thought they were brother and sister.
It does seem like that kind of relationship, right? And it sort of moves in a weird way where you're not sure. Like, it's very much a will they, won't they kind of thing, where sometimes they seem a little romantically linked, and then sometimes they seem very sibling linked. I don't know. In the volume 1, it's all sibling.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't know if it's just because I think Tila's too good for him, but I did not get, like...
He is the most powerful man. Yes. That's like saying Lois Lane's too good for Superman.
I mean, give me enough comics.
Here's the thing, Lois Lane. Tila actually might be too good for Adam, but it's a very similar comparison. Except Tila fights better than Lois Lane. So
I'm just saying, I didn't know if maybe because I spent this whole comic standing Tila.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe that was just my bias, being like, she could do better.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe she could. Also, yeah, Skeletor is over here spitting facts. Tell me again why you didn't just slit his throat.
This is a great page because it's all silent for like 6 panels. It's Skeletor walking through the camp and everything's decimated. And Trapjaw's like a puppy that's been hit, walking behind him with his head down. Skeletor looks left and right. He sees like destruction.
Yes.
And then, he's like, tell me again why you didn't just slit his throat. Skeletor. You are asking the true questions. But what I would like you to do now is look in a mirror and ask that exact same question.
You had a skull that granted you a magic wish, and you didn't just wish for Adam to not exist.
Or have his sword. Like, you could have just played with his sword, and then he would have been Adam. And you could beat Adam, I bet. I
bet that there was some way that you could have accomplished this and not had this blonde problem.
This blonde little... these 2 blonde problems.
Here's the thing.
Because now Tila is an additional problem. And eventually you're going to have Man-at-Arms who is an additional problem.
This panel where Adam's complaining about being rescued might have been one of the first slights where it's just like, thank the woman and shut the fuck up. Like, get out of the way.
Yeah.
You are not...
Well, it's funny because that's just one of their running gags. Like, through the next episode, he rescues her and she does the exact same thing. Like, it's just... That's their banter. And it's... Again, if you've been reading them for 20 years or so...
I haven't.
Well, no, but it's important that you tell me, as someone who hasn't, how that affects you. Because, I thought nothing of this. I'm like,
I got irritated.
I'm like, these 2 are very familiar with each other, and they have kind of a sibling relationship.
I was like, thank the woman, man. Yeah. Like, she could have left your ass there. She didn't have to help you.
Yeah.
She could have gone... Here's the thing. Tila would have been fine on her own. She'd have been fine. Yeah. She did not need you for this. Say thank you, bitch.
He says, I might have gotten trampled. And she says, really? I saved your life, and you hand me grief. Honestly, Adam, you are the most self-sent... He's like, what did you just call me? Adam, that's your name, isn't it? And you do this how? I don't know. I mean, I just do. And then Adam's like, yeah, welcome to my hell. But just that line, like, I feel like reveals that this is they have had this fight a million times. Like, Adam, you are the most self-centered. Like, I feel like that is the air of familiarity. Like, these two know each other really well. And that ends issue 3, is that Teela and Adam know each other, and they know each other's names, and Zoar is not just a bird.
Yep.
But Teela doesn't know what it is or how she knows that. Then we have the cover of issue 3, which is probably my favorite cover. Like, I love this, like, with him on the boat and it getting crushed from underneath. You have He-Man sitting on a small rowboat, and then and like half of the comic is under the water, and you see this huge merman like busting up from underneath, along with all these scary sea beasts. It's good. It's a good cover. So now we're at the port. We're out of the sandy dunes and at Sand's End, and Adam is showing his princeliness and like, I don't want to eat this icky looking food. And Teela's like, shut up and eat it. It'll be fine.
Again, Teela, the best.
Yeah, and there's a very funny face crack that Teela gives him, which I really liked. It's not here yet. So they get a boat.
Yep.
And a beautiful boat. Like, I love this crazy ass ship.
Yes, it's very like Norse Viking.
Yeah, there's
feel.
a full page panel of this Norse Viking boat with these huge sails. It's got like 5 sails around it and this tall neck, and man.
Oh yeah, this is the thing. It says he asks, how did someone's awfully full of herself. How did you know I was led to you? And Teela says, it feels right. And I wrote, their evidence is a gut feeling. This is how you know they had happy home lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can actually trust those. He's like, yeah, it does. Now both of us are being led someplace else. Yeah.
Yeah. A gut feeling is all the evidence you need for this. This is.
I also like where he says, like your theory about we've both been enchanted. She's like, no, cursed. Enchantments are benevolent. Like, they're good. We get our wonderful eye candy because they're both on this ship, and apparently it's very hot, so everyone's down in their skivvies.
Except for the captain of the boat. This actually...
Yeah, I like the captain. I'm a big fan of the captain.
But her being in this bikini thing for the rest of this really got on my nerves. I'm not going to lie.
But Adam being in the bikini didn't get on your nerves?
I don't like him. I've done told you. Like, he is kind of a side issue. He got and plus, like, it's on the cover too.
Right.
But, like, this got on my nerves. She could have at least had a pair of pants. It's unnecessary.
I mean, this is dressing to her. It's not like she was enslaved and forced to put this on.
No, but her clothes never changed. Like,
no, she has to wear it till almost the end. I think maybe at the very end she gets clothes.
And it got irritating, especially when they're like doing this fight thingy that's going to happen.
Yeah,
it got on my nerves.
Okay,
Didn't like it.
I was a fan. I can't figure out why, but I was okay. I liked it. But yeah, Adam is being forced to work to pay for their service.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Teela is putting her hand through the bird to show that it's like an illusion, but it has the illusion of weight. And so it's a very powerful spell by a very powerful magician. And Adam's like, well, that's disturbing. You're creeping me out.
It's fair.
Yeah. And then we cut back to Castle Greyskull, where Skeletor is dining with the sorceress. This is the first time we get to see the sorceress. Mm-hmm. And she is in a bad way. This terrified me because, man, it sort of melted my tiny brain because I am used to the sorceress from the 80s cartoon, and nothing ever happened to anyone in that. And Skeletor was cartoonishly evil, and now he's just evil. Like, he's force-feeding her food and has a royal torture scene to her, which I'm sure is not treating her well.
Oh, unless you're really into BDSM, she's probably not having too much fun. She does
not look like she is?
No, she does not. She does not. No, but I did. The power that lies dormant within Greyskull will be mine. I am Skeletor. I am inevitable. And I said, poor Skeletor, the I am inevitable line doesn't have a good track record for villains, especially blue villains who use it.
Yeah. Although, for the record, before Thanos said it,
I am inevitable. I'm just saying, I saw that line and I'm like, poor guy. Blue guys who say that don't tend to...
They end badly.
Yeah.
So then we cut back to the ship.
Teela is so cool.
Teela is beating Adam's ass because he's once again forgotten how to sword fight. And she's trying to train him so that even when he's forgotten how to sword fight, he can sword fight. And she's like, oh, I've just always known. He's like, you know that's impossible, right? Someone had to teach you how to use that sword. And the captain's like, hey, we're being followed. And Teela's like, yeah, I totally noticed. And Adam's like, I'm oblivious. So, once again, Teela showing her military training and that she's aware of her surroundings way more than Adam. And I think it shows a lot. Like, for a reason, there's a reason why Batman's a better detective than Superman. Superman doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Because if something bad happens, Superman's already ready for it because he's immortal and has heat vision.
Yeah.
Whereas Batman has to keep himself alive. Teela does not have the power of Greyskull. Ergo, she has to be aware of her surroundings. She has to be a better swordsman than Adam. She, you know,
She actually has to work.
She has to work to fight mystical.
Maybe that's why I
to
like
fight
her.
mystical forces. As a non-mystical person, you have to train your ass off. And Teela did. And Adam kind of takes it for granted. Which
I think it's something that does happen.
You can possibly blame his upbringing, too. He is a prince, after all. And we're actually getting ready to meet another prince. Prince Merman, who I describe as, what if Aquaman was an asshole?
Jesus.
Yeah. He comes out of the water. They know he's coming because his men have been following them, and the captain recognizes him because apparently Merman is kind of an eco-terrorist who robs boats that are going through the ocean, which he considers his domain.
Which, I mean, fair. Chances are they probably drop a lot of trash into the ocean.
Yes, again, what if Aquaman
Although
was
this
an
isn't
asshole?
a cruise ship, like...
It's not a cruise ship, you are correct. And I like his introduction. Forgive my deplorable lack of manners. I am the omnipotent first son of the ocean lord, master of the depths, absolute monarch of the seven tides, the singular wonder and grand presence, Nauticus Aquaria, Merman the first. Charmed. I like this sense of royal decorum that he has. It's very cute.
It is very, not Lord of the Rings. What's the other, the thing with the dragons? Game of Thrones. It's very Game of Thrones.
House of Thrones. Yeah.
There was a line in here about something about land meat. And I wrote it down. Merman. I wrote it down because I said it was my new favorite pickup line.
Well, I think it might be on the next page after he gets stabbed.
Yeah,
it's like we're not as easily hurt as man meat or something like that.
Yeah, because I was like, this is my new favorite pickup line.
Yeah. I don't know where it is.
I don't know where it is either. I need to start writing down page numbers when I do this.
Well, this one doesn't have page numbers. Another one of those that we keep coming across. But yeah, this is where I actually really like the captain, because Merman's like, these two come with me. You're not going to be difficult about this, are you? And the captain's like, yeah, I probably am. Took their coin, reckon I owe them as close to safe passage as I can get. You'll never take us alive. And then Adam's like, you'll never take us alive? Like Teela. So Teela said, you'll never take us alive. And Adam's like, what kind of cliched bullshit is that? She's like, it just slipped out. And Merman's like, sigh, prove them wrong. And his super octopus attacks. Think the Kraken from the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Yeah.
Picks Teela up. Adam saves her. And then they do the whole, like, oh, you saved me the wrong way thing again. Because, again, that's a running thing between them. About this time, I got tired of their snarkiness with each other. I'd be like, you guys are working together. Be a little friendly. Like, you don't have to always be fighting. Come on. So, meanwhile, he saves her, but she gets dropped in the ocean. And then Merman is beating him pretty severely.
Yeah.
Just slaps the sword out of his hand. Just starts punching him to death, which I like. Yeah. Pathetic. You rage, yet you have no idea why you rage. Know this, Prince. You will die. Never knowing if my vengeance must take this form, then so be it. So this is when he reveals that he's a prince. Merman reveals that Prince Adam is, in fact, a prince.
Yeah.
And Teela's like, she's like, so you're a prince, huh? He's like, that's news to me.
Maybe your crazy dad's not so crazy.
Yeah, and Merman's getting ready to kill Adam. Teela saves him. So they're now, she's 2 to his 1. If anyone's keeping score, and both of them are.
Yeah.
But Merman gets up from the stab, and he's like, struck from behind, hardly in keeping with the code of honor your father so worshipped. Fortunate that I'm made of sterner stuff than land meat.
There you go.
Yeah, there it is. Hey, ladies, I'm made of sterner stuff than land meat.
My new favorite pickup line.
And she says, my father sold me into slavery. And he says, exquisite. Skeletor has managed to strip you of honor as well as memory. The loss of one leading to the loss of the other. Most exquisite. So Merman's fucking in love with Skeletor's reworking of the world. Which, of course, he got all the oceans to command.
You know.
Yeah, he got a promotion. And then, much like Katara in Avatar The Last Airbender, he can also control water. So he just brings up a super wave and, like, breaks it across them. And like all villains, he assumes they're dead without finding the bodies.
Also, something that irritated me in this particular situation is that nothing is ever explained about what happens to all the other pirates. I liked the captain.
I know.
And then it just fucking drops them like they cease to exist. And like...
I am assuming that they died, but I don't know that.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
This is an open-ended thing that...
It is possible that we'll find that out later. And we're doing a capture, release, repeat scenario in which every episode they get captured by somebody and then escape. So we open on them on what's left of the boat, trying to fish and failing miserably.
Tila really is my favorite.
Yes, Tila is talking some smack to Adam and says mean things to the bird. So the bird drops a coconut on her head, which reveals an island because... Adam's like, wait, where'd they get the coconut? It's very much kind of an old Monty Python skit.
Yeah.
It's like, but where'd they get the coconut from? Yeah. And I'm actually backtracking just for a second because, man, I have got to get this Tila insult because it was great.
We're going back just for the digs.
It's very important, yes. It's the most important thing that I've ever gone back for. Yeah, when she's talking about appearances, in a way, she basically is like, appearances, she says, appearances can't be everything. With a face like yours, this can't be the first time you've heard that. And I was like, damn, Tila, damn.
Again, I got real sibling vibes from this.
Yeah, at this point, that's all you get. Like, it is very sibling vibe at this point.
And here, Tila's getting ogled.
Yep.
Well, yeah. So they get to the island.
Man-at-Arms captures them.
Yep.
Who is Tila's father, but we don't know that yet.
Yeah, and see, I didn't know that, so I just wrote, I liked when Mr. Mustache punched the dude for looking at Tila too closely.
Yeah.
He didn't know why he did it, but the fact that he did it, I liked that.
It was very good. Normally I'm against the weird, I'm a dad and I'm protecting my daughter's virginity, but in cases of forced, yeah, I think a dad should do that. I think the dad should punch dude in the face.
Honestly, maybe...
Man-at-Arms is actually, amongst the heroes, he's probably my favorite character. You get, like, more of him in other volumes, but even in this volume, he does some pretty good stuff.
Hold on a second.
Yep, sorry. Is there something I missed?
I wrote something about the question was rhetorical, and I was trying to... exquisite, truly exquisite. Do you know how long I've waited for this moment? No, Majesty. Well, the question was rhetorical. Yeah. that part was that I was like, do you know how long I've waited for this? Yeah. No, I don't. We just got here, literally.
It's fine. It was a rhetorical question. So yeah, we meet Lynn, Evil Lynn, who is a nutter. She's out of her gourd, which is fun. Like, I like this version of Evil Lynn, who's like just insane, like completely unstable.
Psychotic, yeah.
And I like that Skeletor fears her and also needs her power, but is like keeps her at a safe distance.
She got an island for a reason.
Yeah, she got an island for a reason, exactly. Yeah, don't want to... much like how Tila and Adam don't really seem to have any spark of like romantic chemistry here, Evil Lynn and Skeletor are often shipped, but in this version, not so much, because she's crazy and dangerous, and so he keeps her very far away from him.
You know what? I am going to give him props for being a dude in a comic book who is also clearly unhinged, who looks at the crazy chick and goes, you know what? No, I'm good.
I don't care how good in bed she is. I'm not going down that road.
This looks like a bad idea.
You're a stronger man than me, Skeletor. Good for you. And then, yeah, so You're like, that's certain. Haven't you been listening to the way she talks to my father? And Adam looks at her and he's like, well, that was interesting. So this is where you get the reveal that Man-Arms is her dad. But
I love how Tila is just more keyed in.
Yeah.
In this whole thing, like, she still remembers her training. She doesn't know how she knows everything.
And she doesn't lose it like Adam does.
Yeah.
And I wonder, and this isn't explained in the comic ever, like, through the whole omnibus, but I wonder if it's because Adam is technically two people. He's He-Man and Prince Adam. And so, like, it's kind of almost a schizophrenic break where, like, he's got two sets of memories for two different people that kind of are cycling.
Yeah.
But again, that's my own headcanon. Like, it's not ever explained in the comic. But yeah, basically Man-at-Arms is like, surprise, surprise, you're not going to be killed instantly, but you're going to have to survive this game.
Eye roll.
Yes. Where Skeletor shares your concern. He's talking to Lynn, and he's like, I don't suppose I could petition Her Majesty to cut Prince Adam's throat and be done with it. Where's the spectacle in that? Evil Lynn says. Be of good faith, Skeletor. He-Man shall die. And Skeletor gets mad. He's like, you do not invoke that name to your... And she basically hangs up the phone on him. Hangs up the scepter of communication. She's like, dead and gone. You had my word.
Poor Skeletor is the only person with any sense in a circus full of drunk elephants.
Yes.
I do genuinely feel the frustration for Skeletor in this particular instance. And I'm not usually, like... I know you typically align with the bad guy.
Yeah.
I'm not usually aligned with the bad guy. I like my, golden, nice, good boy type thing. But, like, in this particular issue, I don't know if it's just that we spend so much time with Skeletor.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel his frustration.
You will feel
I
it,
understand.
Like, when we return to the Masters of the Universe, you'll feel it even more. Because, like I said, you get his backstory, and it is truly tragic.
Again, it sounds like racism, and
it is, at its core.
Typically, I get that, yeah.
Yeah. But... yeah, then the next 2 pages, Skeletor tries to explain to this weird red skull that you will find out more about later on down the road, but that basically gave him the power to rewrite reality.
This line, vengeance and vanity have far more in common than the first letter.
Yep.
Look at that! Look at this!
I have that in my notes as well. It's a good line. It's a damn
like
good
that
line,
yes.
Yeah, because the skull is trying to explain to Skeletor, who is also a skull. This is going to get confusing. The Red Skull, but not the Nazi, is trying is trying to explain to Skeletor, like, why this keeps going south for him. Why things are just progressively getting worse. He's like, you are no different. We are no different. And Skeletor says, choose your next words carefully.
Although it seems like bad idea to, like, fuck with the thing that gave you the wish.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, saying. Just
he's like, just killing him is not enough. A quick death, even at their hands, would be most unsatisfactory. Vengeance and vanity have more in common than a first letter. If your preference was a quick death, you would have been better served paying your brotherhood of assassins. My preference is any death as long as he dies, Skeletor says. And then the skull's like, then see that it's done. And Skeletor says, abandon Greyskull when I am so close to... And the skull interrupts him. You are no closer to tapping the power of Greyskull than you were when you first took your sorceress captive. You could not lie to me. Your fear that if you leave Greyskull, you may be unable to return. She has been tortured to near death, and still you fear her. And I was like, oh, damn!
Yeah, this skull spits facts.
Yeah. Oh, man. And I also, like, sometime earlier, it's like, why don't you do it yourself? He's like, what use are servants if not to serve? I like that line.
I have all of these people on the payroll.
Yeah.
One of them has got to be able to do something.
I'm not trying to oversee. I'm trying to delegate. I'm trying to delegate. And they're making it impossible by being bad at their job. So Man-at-Arms, like, much like Tila and much like Prince Adam, very confused.
Yeah.
He goes to where they're being imprisoned and just kind of looks at him and been like, why are you in my dreams? What the hell's going on? And she's like, are you my dad? And he just walks off. He's like,
you know what? I'm not dealing with you right now.
Yeah.
Honestly, as someone with children, even I have had those moments where it's just like, I'm going to leave now.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know.
Not right now.
Yeah. And then we get to the cauldron. And I like the concept of the cauldron. It's basically like a big witch's cauldron with a beam across it. And He-Man and Teela are fighting, forced to fight on the beam. They're fighting each other to the death. Mm-hmm. But when they fall into the cauldron, it's filled with flames. But when they fall in, it doesn't hurt them unless they've spilt blood. So the more blood they spill, the hotter it gets, in a way that, like, eventually, of course, it will kill them. And so she can watch people fight for hours and hours in this weird cauldron that she's created.
I like this line. Adam says, volcano, sacrifice. How did we not see this coming? And I wrote, Adam, you're not funny, Adam.
I laughed.
And then she's trying to stop him from jumping. I wrote down, I'd have let Adam jump.
Yeah. Well, it's very sweet because, like, they're talking about the comet and he's like, oh, we're going to fight? And
this is where the bikini mess started getting on my nerves. Because this is, Adam at least gets pants.
Yeah.
And, like, this is where it got on my nerves. I didn't care
that much. Seemed a little gratuitous at that juncture.
Yeah, like, Adam gets pants in this. And this is probably why I noticed.
They did. Well, she got a skirt. Before, she was not in a skirt. She was in...
She's still got her boobs hanging out. Like, you could give her more clothes. This was unnecessary. This got on my
nerves. But then this would be harder. Here's the thing. At least this isn't pretending to be armor.
You know what?
I hate it worse when it's like, I'm going armored into battle, and it's just something covering your boobs.
Yeah.
And, like, something covering the baby maker, and that's it. Yeah. Like, I'm like, that doesn't seem armored. No, these two are purposely not armored so that if they don't fight, they can get shot with arrows, which is what just happened. I do like the idea, though, that...
It goes in her ass. Like,
that is some camera work. Yeah, I like the idea, though. Could
have given her pants.
So this is becoming a real fight. And Teela says, you're really going to try to throw me into that? And Adam's like, no, but you're probably going to try and stop me from jumping. So I like that they're fighting over who gets to sacrifice themselves for the other one. But it all becomes naught because the bird swoops down and swipes Adam's face and he falls into the flames. And that's the end of that issue. And we're reaching the issue 5. There's only 6 issues. And issue 5 is pretty much where we finally get our resolution of this whole curse.
Yeah.
But Adam falls in, and then you get the cauldron explained to you and how it works. And then Adam gets shot in the leg. Also not armored. So now everyone's bleeding, so the fire's going to get hotter and hotter.
Yeah.
But the bird knocked Adam down there so that he could see a place where they could escape. Mm-hmm. So he tosses Teela and follows her down. And then there's more of this. Why? Blah, blah, blah. You know, at this point I was getting very tired of the back and forth. Like, Jesus Christ. And then Evil Lynn's like they're getting away because they escaped the cauldron. Man-at-Arms go get them. And Man-at-Arms is like, well, I'm going to go because I want to go. I know, I'm making fun of Man-at-Arms. I like Man-at-Arms, but Evil Lynn reports back. This is one of my favorite lines. I seem to have misplaced your 2 persons of interest. You're not going to blow this all out of proportion, are you? Skeletor is like, God, you're the one. You're the one I thought could do this. All the others, you were my last chance. Not to mention that he knows what's under the cauldron and where he's headed. But Evil Lynn also reveals that a bird swooped in at the last minute, and Skeletor is furious because he knows that bird is Zoar and that the sorcerer's been playing him like a drum this whole time.
On the other hand, she is hella powerful to being tortured 24/7 and then
still make this powerful illusion to help Adam and Teela get where they need to go. And she's like, yeah, I was hiding in one of your pleasant memories. You don't ever visit those. Like, I was in your brain and projecting outward into the world through it. And he straight up breaks her neck.
Yep, he
kills
her.
Which I couldn't believe. I was like, you can't kill this sorcerer. Skeletor, I was on your side.
I don't know. I never got super attached to her either.
Well, because you're working off of the one Netflix series in this graphic novel. Sorcerer's been working on me for like 35 years, so I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. All these guys have this huge history behind them that, like, much like when I was reading Sailor V. Like, for you, Sailor V has tons more, like, everything she does is connected to every memory you have of her. And for me, the Sorceress was like, the nice lady who always knew how to help He-Man and was so smart. She was smarter than He-Man, smarter than everybody.
I feel like that's not that hard to do.
It's not. But she was also smarter than Teela. She was smarter than everyone. She was the best.
Again.
And now she dead. And now Man-at-Arms has to be my favorite because you killed the sorceress. I always if I'm going to like a good guy, it's got to be the smartest good guy. And the sorceress was the smartest good guy. Zoar is still leading the way down to this weird symboled door, which Adam touches and it can open.
Let's hope this is more of a happy to see you than die trespasser. That one made me giggle. That one was actually funny.
And then this crazy ass tiger jumps out, and that made my heart sing because that is He-Man's cat, Battle Cat, aka Cringer. And I was like, yay, big cat! Yay!
Yay, big cat!
Always big cats, too. I mean, anytime you have a big cat, you're doing good.
Hey, I like a big cat.
And there's a sword, and he's like, hey, that's the answer to all our questions. I just got to get it. So, easier said than done, because the tiger is trying to eat him.
Now, this is where the quipping finally got annoying for me. Because I wrote down, look, I'm all for being quippy, but maybe not while something is actively trying to eat you.
Yes.
Save the shit for after you...
They quip a little too much in this.
It gets to be a little tiring.
But it is also very much from the cartoons.
This
he would never shut up.
Sexy pose is weird when her dad is the one holding her.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
I just...
Little creeptastic.
Super creeptastic.
And then he finally gets the fucking sword and turns into He-Man. And I'm like, about goddamn time. This is issue 5 of 6. And I love it because you then get a flashback of not a flashback, of as soon as he pulls the sword out, the curse is broken. Mm-hmm. So you get scenes of everyone. Duncan, aka Man-at-Arms, is like, Teela. She's like, later, I think we got to fight on our hands, Dad. And then Evil Lyn is like, no, he wasn't invited. How dare he? And Merman's like, see, Father, save us. He has triumphed. And for the record, don't see Merman again. He's like, I'm going to hide in the sea cave.
I'm out. Peace.
So we gave Skeletor's henchmen a lot of flack. Merman might be the smartest person in this entire series. Smarter than even the sorceress. Because he's like, I'm hiding in the sea cave.
You know what? This looks like a land problem. I'm going to hang out back here. Y'all have fun with this.
Peace. Trapjaw also immediately abandoned Skeletor. He's like, make haste. We would do well to be far removed from his wrath. And at this point, you don't know if he's talking about Skeletor or He-Man. But you don't see him again, so I'm thinking Skeletor.
Honestly,
good luck.
Stay away from both of them.
Yeah, God, they're in a mood. And then you see King Randor stepping out of his little wooden hut, and he's like, Adam. And the lady that Adam left to check on him is like, Your Majesty? What the hell? And then Skeletor is just like, fine, come to me. Come to me. Bring your fools with your last time I took your memories. This time I will take your lives. So finally, Skeletor's done fucking playing around. About fucking time.
Took him long enough.
Big bone. That should have happened a while ago. So, the final issue. Yep.
Is this where they're talking? No, this is not. Okay.
Yep.
My notes for a little bit later.
Well. Alright. Finally, the fight we've been waiting for. Skeletor He-Man for all the chickens? I don't know.
Well, for Greyskull at least, right?
Yeah.
That's how this works.
But we open on Evil Lyn trying to get the hell out of her palace.
Yeah.
And she opens the door, and there's He-Man throwing away the last of her soldiers. And she's like, nonsense. You've never struck a woman, and you never will. And Teela's like, I will. She's like, yes, there is that. So Evil Lyn fucking teleports the hell out of there.
Yeah.
So as not
get going while the going's
ruined.
good.
Skeletor has finally had enough of his little skull head.
And out the window it goes. So I watch a thing called Puppet History, which is one of my favorite things on YouTube.
Yep.
And that's called defenestration, when you throw something out the window like that.
Defenestration. That is a wonderful. It
is a beautiful word.
That's not a quarter word. That's a full 75-cent word.
Yep.
Man, I need to carve that. That's going to be my next tattoo. We're like, what's that mean? I'll be like, something stupid.
Don't worry about it.
And then, so he gets rid of the skull. He throws it, out of the castle window. He's like, I'm done listening to this thing make fun of me. Which, again, seems a little nutter. That thing is very powerful.
It does seem like a really poor choice to make. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and it is. So then we have Beastman, who's begging Skeletor to let him, like, man the battlements and, like, try and get defenses. And Skeletor's, you can, but what's the fucking point? Like, it's gonna be me and He-Man fighting. Like, all the rest of this is window dressing. Yeah. But if it makes you feel better, it basically pats his head. Like, if it makes you feel better, if it makes you feel better, go and do it.
And then they're in this little village.
Yes.
He-Man and his entourage are in this little village.
A bunch of toys that you've never played with, but for me it was like, oh, shit.
Well, I just thought it was really funny because he's complaining about the spot being so remote.
Yeah.
And one of them says, well, did you want a banner saying this way to the rebellion? And I just want it to be known that I would like a banner that says this way to the rebellion.
In real life, it would be good to know. So here you get a huge drop that will not be paid off till later. But, like, when I first read it, was like, oh my fucking God. So they're talking, and Teela's basically saying, I say it's too dangerous. What if he puts another whammy on you? He-Man says, Orko's not here to betray us this time. Orko is the cute little wizard who is who in the cartoon was like the good guy's comic relief, and in this apparently is the person who helped Skeletor get the power to betray them. And I'm like, Orko, what the fuck? You have to read on to find out what the fuck with Orko, but that just, man, what the fuck,
I didn't
Orko?
even catch that.
Of course, like no one would if you weren't like greatly attuned to all the characters. But yeah, Orko, who you remember as the cute, adorable guy in the Netflix series, who Evelyn befriends and, like, ends up saving them all from Scarecrow. Like, he's adorable. He's a good guy. In this, apparently, he betrayed them. And they all have the memories of it, but of course, us as the reader are outside the circle. We don't know.
I really liked this part because she calls him out for being a sulky little dude.
Which is fair.
And yeah, because he's like, I'm not sulking. It's like, I wrote down, it looks like he's sulking to me. Like, he looks like sulking.
Here's the truth, though. Boy. He's not. He's planning to fucking jet. Like, he's like, I'm not sulking. I'm just leaving. Yeah. Without telling anyone. And Teela's like, well, you
now
told
I have to
me.
go with you.
Yeah, I either have to stay and lie to everyone or go with you. He's like, why would I? Oh, wait, I do this every time, don't I? Like, she's like remembering her memories. And and I love the little shot of Cringer licking his paw. Any shot of the cat's a good shot.
It's a cute cat.
I love the cute cat, yeah.
So, yes, he says, next time, can you remember this before you start yelling at me? And no, she should always yell at you.
Again, Cecilia has decided that Teela is always in the right, no matter what.
Look, I'm standing the girl.
It seems unfair, but it is fine. I think Triclops is always in the right, and he hasn't even shown up yet. He won't till, like, Volume 3, which is a travesty. He's such a cool character. Yeah. Anyway... So, then we go back to Castle Greyskull, where they're preparing the battlements. Skeletor, like, takes Evelyn's mouth away, much like he threw the skull out the window, because he cannot have people tell him he's wrong. Not allowed. Not allowed.
I will give Adam credit for the fact that he will at least let people tell him he's wrong.
Yeah,
he ignores them and does whatever stupid shit he was going to do anyways, but he at least lets people tell him that he's wrong. Although, honestly, he doesn't have any kind of magic to take away people's mouths, so maybe it's more about lacking the ability than being a well-rounded person.
I mean...
A little bit of both.
You're a prince, so there's some naivety there, but you're also a prince in a kingdom that is constantly beset by technology and magical wars, so it's not... You know, you're not like... the Prince of England, who's like, you're not quite that well protected. You're a prince who is constantly, your kingdom is being beset by skeleton warriors that rise from their grave and, like, you know, lava monsters that are 50 feet tall. Yeah. So there is some naivety there, but that also gets addressed. Like, Adam, at this point, has not faced a lot of tragedy. Like, he will face the tragedy of losing the sorceress. But down the line, he will face amazing... he will become... He's such a neat character. Like, as it goes on, the new sorceress, who will be revealed later, reveals to him a future... Because he's like, how can I beat this other invading force? Like, after Skeletor's wiped out, this other group shows up, of course. Otherwise, you have no comic. He's like, how can I beat them? And she's like, well, I can show you... There's 2 ways to go about it. And one of them, you have to give up the power of He-Man completely. And he's like, fuck no. What's the other? And so she shows him this reality where he stays He-Man and never turns into Adam again. And he becomes like a tyrant. And basically, like, it is nightmare fuel. Like, it's a whole issue of, like, what life would be like if He-Man was only He-Man and never Adam, and, like, abused the power. And at this point, he has lost a bunch of people close to him, and he becomes this monster. Like, it's really cool. Like, a lot of the things that bother you about these characters at this juncture get totally changed in a way that is just, it's neat. The character development in this 2012 run, if you follow it from issue 1 to the end, it's a work of art. And
I love that.
And there's a Thundercats crossover.
Oh!
Yes, there is. Yep. And a DC comic crossover where he actually comes to the DC like the main DC universe and teams up with like Batman and shit. There's a lot of fun stuff coming up, and we will eventually come back to He-Man and move further down the line.
Though. Like,
and you will get it.
So one of the things I want us to read eventually is Yona of the Dawn. And Yona of the Dawn, when it starts out, Yona is the most annoying, sniveling, entitled little bitch. She gets on my nerves so much.
Cecilia dropped the B word, you know it's serious.
She gets on my nerves so much. But then when the tragedy starts happening and she actually has to, like, grow up, it becomes it's so good. Yeah. I enjoy, but I don't mind if the point of the characters is, hey, they eventually address this problem and you grow from it, then that's a beauty.
This definitely does. Like, you will watch Teela change, He-Man change, like, all these things change in ways that are just... This 2012 is the best that the He-Man comics have or will ever be, and they are great. And we will go further down this rabbit hole at a later date. I'm gonna give Cecilia a break for a while, but we will come back to it. I'm not giving us a break. We will come back to it. So yes, the barbarians are at the gate, quite literally. He-Man on his amazing cat, and Teela on this badass solid gold unicorn with a black horn are like wading through dudes and just beating ass and taking names. It's very nice.
Yes,
big fan of the action shots. Skeletor pops in and basically tosses the sorcerer's head at his feet and is like, yeah, this ends today, boy. We're done. We ain't playing no more. And He-Man says something I really like here. Might wins the war, but honor wins the peace. I'm like, I feel like that needs to be on a family crest for me. Like, that sounds... It's a good line. It's a good line. It's another good line, just like the vanity. Yeah. Very good line. So, you know what's coming next. Skeletor and He-Man duking it out.
I thought, this part was really interesting to me. I feel like Skeletor did such a good job being pragmatic through most of this, right up until he decides he has to be the one that kills He-Man. Just anyone could do it. Anyone could do it.
Yeah.
It literally doesn't matter, because the goal is to get him dead.
He also gives up his strategic position. He's on top of Castle Greyskull. He's got magic lasers. He can shoot magic lasers for like 20 minutes and just decimate the hero's army. He could kill King Randor. I'm sure that would put He-Man in a hurt. But no. He's like, I'm going to warp right next to you and fight you in hand-to-hand combat. The strongest man in the universe with the most powerful sword.
He was pragmatic.
I want to get in a slap fight with him.
All of these people, their emotions.
Yeah.
These men, their emotions get the better of them so often.
Yes. I mean, and women. Although Evil Lynn's a head case, so you could possibly say she has a reason. But man, Herd Keller. Oh man, I can't wait to read more of this. But for now, you can imagine Skeletor's just getting ready to win. He-More reveals that the power was him all the time. Like, the reason Skeletor could never find the power of Castle Greyskull was because he was the vessel, not the castle. And he basically gives him the trap jaw treatment and knocks his lower jaw off.
He's got one move.
And knocks it. He's a big fan of the jaw treatment. And knocks him into this, like, abyss that Skeletor opened so that no one would interrupt their fight. He basically made, like, a fire pit. And this is a very interesting thing, because right at the end, they're like, oh, did you do it? Is he dead? And He-Man says, I'm going to say yes. And then he whispers, liar, under his breath.
Yeah, he knows that didn't kill him.
But he says, learn from this, uncle. I've no more pity left to give you. It was kind of a... Usually when he's being very noble, it bothers me. But because this was his uncle. Like, he was like a second father to him. And you'll see that in the flashbacks as well. Like, He-Man had love for Keldor.
Yeah.
And it's very sweet that he gets he's like, you know what? I'm not going to follow you down into this crevice and break your face open, which is what I should do. And so Skeletor is at the bottom, all fucked up.
Right.
And we have another great line here. I know the weeping abscess that throbs where your soul once thrived. Like, that is such a good... Basically, this is where Skeletor threw that red skull that gave him all this power. And it's basically making fun of him now because Skeletor can barely move. And he barely has the strength to say that it's lying. He's like, lies, what do you know of? And this is where he says, I know your heart and mind. I know the weeping abscess that throbs where your soul once thrived. That goddamn... Good line. Good line.
There are a handful of those in
I
here.
know you, Skeletor of Eternia. And it is time you come to know more of me as well. And he warps him to this place. You don't know where, you don't know why, but that is the end of Volume 1. So Skeletor is not dead. He's in the presence of the voice that was in the skull talking to him this whole time.
I wrote down who's the guy on the throne.
Exactly. Who's the real puppet master here? Stay tuned for Volume 2 to find out more information. But yeah, so ends Volume 1. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. It made me very happy. Yeah, the mysterious skull turns out to be the mysterious benefactor who is still mysterious, I wrote.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you got a couple pages of the art style of how they redesigned the characters from the old cartoon in the 2002 and the 2008. How for this new revamp, they made the characters look differently.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like the look. A little more gritty than any iteration of He-Man had been up to this point. So that was He-Man. Cecilia. Mm-hmm. Final impressions now that we've gone through it together.
I love Tala.
Yeah, Tila's the MVP. I don't think even I can't argue that. I love Sorceress, but
I think there's a lot of talk, and this is just me being kind of meta for a second, but there's a lot of talk about the difference between like the female gaze and the male gaze, and I feel like He-Man is a good encapsulation of the difference between, like, I had a thought and it just vanished. Like the vapors, it went away.
I needs it.
I know, and I feel like this is it's a good encapsulation of what that is, even if I can't find the words for it at the moment because my brain is tired and I've been up since 3 a.m.
Oh.
But I didn't hate it. But this is definitely one of those things that, like, I kind of find a little... Like, if the story wasn't focused on He-Man, I think I'd like it more.
Well, that will actually help you down the line, too, because there's a huge arc in the in the middle.
Okay.
My words are all over the place. That focuses on his actual sister, who will later be She-Ra.
Okay.
And her arc is... very good. And He-Man's is as well. And you get a lot more Tila, you get a lot more of other stronger female leads as it goes on, including Evelyn and Shadow Weaver. So you get a couple of really good bad ladies and a couple of really good ladies.
All right.
Yeah, it's fun. Like I say, as it goes on, I think a lot of the sins of Volume 1 are corrected and steered better in volumes.
Well, they're not even
further down the
sins
line.
if they're supposed to be there, though. Like, if the point
I think they are just because of all the hints that they drop
Yeah.
of things that come later on. They seem to have had this well-planned.
Yeah,
right
they're
from the
not
beginning.
sins if it's meant to be, like, this is a point of growth, or this is a character arc. Then it's not a sin, it's just...
Yeah. So, big question is one is speaking of meta, it's one I'm surprised we haven't asked up till now.
Okay.
And that I think this is a very good place to ask it. How would you, quote unquote, fix Volume 1 of He-Man, the Masters of the Universe? If this was for Cecilia, would it just be Teela just like beating up He-Man? Like, how would you, what do you think, where are the repairs necessary, and how would you fix it? I would add more Triclops and take away some of the banter because it got a little old after a while.
The banter did get
for me, it's very simple because I mostly love this. But I'm very interested to see like where you would take it if you were in charge of the Masters of the universe.
I would have to
Sailor Scouts. They'd be Sailor Scouts.
Okay, you have to give me a second.
You have all the time you need. I will edit
out all the silence.
You're gonna have
to cut out some dead air.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I cut so much dead air out of the Sailor V episode. We spent a lot of time looking for stuff.
Well, to be fair, that was the first episode I think I led, and I might have been just a touch nervous.
You did great. Especially after I edited it.
I think I might have cut the amount of villains in it because the catching and releasing got
a little repetitive.
Tired.
Okay, I think that's a fair. I would maybe team them up.
Yeah.
Maybe have Trapjaw and Merman capture him together or something.
So yeah,
if you needed them all for some reason.
Which
for fan service you probably did.
And that's a fair point.
Yeah.
I think if you're making this comment for someone like you who has a lot of history in it, then that makes sense. Yeah. I can understand why.
But to bring in new readers,
same as with Sailor V, like having all of the flashes with all of the girls is great for me because like I came at this from Sailor Moon and I have a lot more emotions tied up in it. Whereas for me, it was like we've done this, and we're doing this again, and we've done, and it got so. Yes, I would combine villains or at least like. Or cut them. Yeah. One of those, I would do one of those two things. Yeah. And because, I mean, and this doesn't really apply to this issue, but because I do like Teela more than He-Man, there would be zero romantic subplot for those two. Yeah. Like, they would just be siblings.
This kept that to the most part.
And this did that. Yeah. But because you know that it's, you'd either have to cut it, or you would have to show, and maybe they do, but there's a difference between characters actually having chemistry and assuming that they're inevitable. Yeah. Because she's the strongest chick.
Well, this is the kind of chemistry I hate. And it's very, very, like the semantic, the villains to lovers, like, oh, those two are constantly fighting. You know they're going to end up in bed together. It's like, ugh, really? Always? Maybe sometimes people just hate each other. Maybe it's not always a secret cover for them wanting to bone. Maybe people are actually enemies sometimes.
I guess I like that better. I like that better when it's two dudes kind of antagonizing each other. And I don't like it because there's such a trope in straight media of couples who can't stand each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I hate that. Like,
I hate it as well. I found, and semantic error is what taught me that I also don't like it when they're not straight. Like, apparently the sexuality isn't the problem I have with it.
I read too much dreary fan fiction.
It's quite a, here's the thing, I like semantic error. Like, that's just the aspect that, like, much like the aspects that bother you, like, that's the thing that catches in my craw a lot, because I'm just like, you know, sometimes enemies. Well, I think sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, and enemies are just enemies.
It's true, but I do think that for two dudes, it actually makes more sense because there can be a lot of internalized homophobia that you have to battle through, and that tension can be explained that way. Yeah. Whereas for a straight couple, there's not the societal pressure of you're not supposed to be together to fuel that kind of antagonism.
That's a very fair point.
And like, for me, if you don't like each other, one, you can just have sex and hate each other. There's no need to make it romantic.
Howdy.
Like, there's, I don't understand that. I'm not a person who could do that, but people can. Yeah, they can absolutely fuck and hate each other.
Yeah, don't yuck my yum, Cecilia.
But like, I don't like. There's there's a lack of societal pressure. I could even understand if, like, she was a pauper and, like, he wasn't supposed to. Like, if there's nothing that is keeping you apart.
Well, she's not a princess, so, I mean, technically.
But she's in the guard,
pauper.
isn't she? Like, she's a...
Right. That's
not...
that's like the king marrying a general's daughter. In fact, that's exactly what it's like. I don't know. There might be societal pressure. That if there is, though, they don't touch on it. So it's a non-issue for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. I would like there to be zero romantic subplot, or for there to be an actual turn of, like...
Yeah.
Actual admiration.
Yeah, I think you get some turns. I don't think you get enough, but I think that's okay because they don't ever pull the trigger on it. Like, He-Man stays a eligible bachelor.
I guess, honestly, the thing that I like the least about He-Man is the fact that it's a male power fantasy. Mm-hmm. And that genre
is quite
just...
literally... That's what it was based on.
Yeah. That genre...
Little boys don't got no power. Let's give them the power.
Yeah, that genre
so they'll buy our swords.
Probably the least interesting genre that exists for me.
That's fair.
As a cis woman.
I am hoping that when they start turning it on its head, you find a newfound appreciation.
The cartoon. Like, I enjoyed watching
which
the cartoon.
very much turned a lot of those on their heads. Like, He-Man was rarely the hero of all 3 seasons. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Well, fun! He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Volume 1. Geoff Jones, Pop 1, Philip Tan, Keith Griffin, James Robinson. Thank you so much for creating this for me, if not necessarily Cecilia. In 2
boys
weeks,
need their power fantasies.
We do.
Too.
We are so powerless in this society. In 2 weeks,
we're just gonna run right over that.
Cecilia, why wouldn't we? It's in
2 weeks, I'm gonna bring the whole mood way down because we are reading Mouse.
Yes, Volume 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. We're gonna knock out the whole thing,
and be super
possibly.
Depressing.
Yeah, it might be a 2-parter. But we are definitely going to go through all of it. As a recently banned book in the conservatives' eyes, and
we're really leaning into that.
No better time to
intersectional leftist lens.
Yes, no better time to cover it. Not to mention with that anti-Semitic that's going around.
And I'm
in
also
the
showing
media.
that I'm a person with depth because I'm not
I'm
just.
I'm a person with depth.
Yeah, I'm not just gonna pick dude love. You know, I like
you. Yeah. We're watching you evolve right along with He-Man. And
to be fair, my recent turn into Yahweh has been recent. And, you know,
we've only had 2 out of our whatever episode this is, 14 or 15.
Pick a number.
yeah. So you're doing fine. All right. Well, until
Mouse.
2 weeks from now, read Mouse and bring a tissue.
God, yeah.
And be prepared to talk about cats and mice and what's up with
X-Men.
that?
I'm bringing X-Men into this too.
Oh, well, yeah. So that'll be something I can at least talk about. Mostly Magneto, probably, right? That dude was all,
Symbolism, actually.
Even better. All right. Until next time, take
Bye-bye.
care. Follow us on all the social things. They're in the links in the comments. Or under
description.
Description.
There
Thank
you
you. Goodbye.